Scot Gladstone here with pitcher Jared Engman. Jared, first of all, welcome back to the team for 2025.
Thank you.
Excited to have you. We saw just a little bit kind of at the end when you joined us, kind of mid to late season there. Let's start back at the very beginning. How did you get into baseball, and how did you kind of fall in love with the game?
Yeah, so I mean, I obviously played like pretty much from when I started walking. I was just had a baseball in my hand. So, I mean, my dad got me into it obviously, and because he played at PLU,
Yeah.
Tacoma, and then so then I just kind of took it up upon my own. I was like, man, this is something I love to do. And about age 11, I realized like, man, like I want to pursue this and like see if I can make a career out of it. And so, I mean, it was from then on, I remember I was throwing baseballs against the wall of the house and just fielding ground balls and doing all that stuff. So and then I got to Tacoma out of high school and became a pitcher there.
Yep.
I was a shortstop and pitching. I was like, man, this is fun. Like throwing hard is awesome. Like blowing the balls by hitters. It was great. And so and then obviously came to UW and had a pretty good career there and landed myself here. So.
Yeah. You mentioned your dad playing at PLU. Obviously, I think a lot of people have, once they get into the sports mentality, they have the mindset like D1 or nothing, right?
Yeah.
And so having your dad play D3 ball and realize like it's still rigorous, it's still a huge commitment, it's still just a great way to go about and get your education whatever way. Like, how did that help lead you kind of the JuCo route for your next option and saying like, hey, this is going to be the next step, and maybe I can see where I can go from there? What was that decision to go JuCo route rather than maybe taking other options?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like out of high school, like my only goal was to get to play D1 baseball. Like, I honestly had no like interest in going to play JuCo at all. But Tacoma CC was the only school that offered me out of high school, and I mean, I was talking to Portland and UNLV, but they never they both fell through. And so I was like, man, like, I mean, if I want to pursue baseball, I have to take this opportunity. And I knew Tacoma was a pretty good JuCo, and they did a good job of moving guys on, getting guys to the D1 level and to professional baseball as well. So I mean, I just kind of was like, all right, I'll take this opportunity and see what happens. But I mean, I got to TCC and I didn't play. So I could pick it, but I couldn't hit.
Yeah.
So then my JuCo coach was like, all right, let's see what you can do on the mound. And I was like, all right, fine. So, I mean, I had a live arm, and they were like, all right, let's just see what you can do. And then, the rest is history. So.
Yeah, when you were converting to pitcher, what was the most difficult part about like changing? Because I mean, I always see it when we get a position player that can throw hard and is trying to be like finding the strike zone. Yeah. That's really difficult. For you, what was it?
I think it was just trying to stay under control and not like try to throw as hard as I can, because that was my whole my first year pitching. That's all I tried to do was just try to throw gas by him, but it was going all over the place, and I had no command of my off speed. I only had a fastball, and then I threw my slider like probably 30% of the time for a strike. So I think just when I got to UW and just kind of like developing more and like understanding, all right, like I'm not just a thrower, I'm a pitcher, so I got to be able to like locate pitches and stay under control and execute spots. So I think just learning how to be a pitcher and be athletic but not be a robot, I think helped me a lot, and I mean it's led me to where I am today. So
obviously growing up in Seattle, the way the Mariners were when you were growing up, when I've been growing up, like very good pitchers, good defense, lack of hitting. So being able to like then convert to a position that obviously Felix Hernandez, I mean, you go further, Randy Johnson, like all sorts of different legends have played for the Mariners and been on the mound for the Mariners. Like, who were kind of your influences, whether they're pitchers, whether they're Mariners, or whatever, like growing up when you said, okay, I'd love to kind of be like that person when I'm playing baseball?
Gosh, I mean, when I was a shortstop, it was always Derek Jeter. But as I started to, become a pitcher, I was like, Max Scherzer was one guy that I, was like, all right, this guy's awesome. Nolan Ryan, because I thought like, this guy's, got, big legs, and he's kind of like more like my build. I try to emulate like how he pitched, and so, I mean, it was modern day, I guess you could say Max Scherzer, Spencer Strider, but growing up, it was Nolan Ryan, Felix for sure.
Yeah.
Honest Lincecum.
Yep.
'Cause obviously, like he was a UW guy,
Yeah.
and then now he had a pretty awesome career in the bigs. But yeah,
Yeah, I mean that was exactly the name I was going to drop next, because then you realize, hey, I'm pretty good at pitching, and obviously colleges start to recognize that.
Yeah.
How did you end up at the University of Washington? Was it kind of a natural pick because it is local, it's right there, it's a great school, obviously beautiful facility and program, or was it a little bit more of a tough decision, kind of figuring out where your next landing spot was?
Yeah, I mean UW was very persistent, and they kept recruiting me, kept chasing after me, and I was like, all right, well, let's see what they've got to offer. I mean, I knew UW was always like a school that I dreamt about going to, because it was
Yeah.
a hometown kid, right? But also it was like, man, I've lived in Washington my whole life. Like I want to go see what else is out there. So, I mean, I looked at Texas, because I mean, out of JuCo, when I was lighting up the radar gun, all these schools were looking at me. I wanted to go to Texas. GCU is a school that I had my eye on. OSU was one. But then like I couldn't pass up the opportunity to stay at home, stay local. My family could come watch me, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions I made in my baseball career. Just the relationships I've made, and over the years, it's been a blessing for sure. So.
Yeah, I mean, take me through those years at the University of Washington, because obviously it's a program that's had some really big highs. I mean, it was only a couple years ago that they went to the World Series,
Yeah.
and at this, and like Lincecum and everything like that. But at the same time, like people didn't know, especially when you're in a national league like the NCAA, compared to like a JuCo thing where it's much more regionalized. The teams in the North, it's hard because you gotta train indoors so much, like and you can just see it early season right now. All the teams that are up north, like they're playing in the sun for the first time in months. So like, take me through kind of the highs of, I guess, your time with the University of Washington, and what were some of the best moments for you with the Dogs?
Oh man, I mean, my first year at UW, 2022. That was probably my favorite year because, I mean, everybody was just bought in. I mean, the fall and the winter was excruciating. I mean, our coaches, took us through, they called it like Navy SEAL training.
Yeah.
Just waking up at 5 in the morning, going on runs and doing these like push-ups, sit-ups, like, dragging plates and pushing, like flipping tires. It was awesome. Like it really like bonded all of us because we were going through a lot of hard stuff together.
Yeah.
And so I think that just kind of, carried on throughout the rest of the years. It was like, all right, the culture was one of the things that we tried to, like carry on throughout my 3 years at UW, because every team is different. But I think just learning what I've learned from my first year at UW and the great times of just going through the mud with all those guys in the fall and the winter, like it's just honestly like, it sucks in the moment, but looking back, it's like, man, that was awesome to go do that with those boys. And, those are, I mean, I still think the 22 team was honestly my favorite year because of the relationships that I've built with those guys. It's just awesome. I still talk to a bunch of those guys today. So, yeah.
And then obviously, like this past spring, I mean, you were the guy, you were the ace for the Washington squad, which is great in one respect because you're starting off the series, you're trying to start it off on a good note, but at the same time you're going up against the other dogs on the other team, right? And so how did that experience just kind of push you to become a better pitcher and become a harder competitor, going through the fact that you knew your offense was going to struggle just as much as you were hoping to force the other team to?
Yeah, and it's actually like I'm glad I was the Friday night guy because, one, that's an awesome honor.
Yeah.
But two, like I know I'm facing their ace too. Yeah. So it's just like I know I have to be at my best. And so I was the Friday night guy the first year, I was the Sunday guy the next year, and I was back to the Friday guy last year. And like I could tell like just the sense of competitiveness from Friday to Sunday was just a little bit. I didn't feel like I had to like be at my best on Sunday. Yeah. And I think that kind of got me in some trouble.
Yeah.
But I mean, pitching on Friday is awesome because Power 5 conference, you're facing a guy who's a draft guy on the other side of the in the dugout. So it's like you got to be at your best. And I think just competing at that level, like both pitchers elevate each other without even realizing it. So yeah, I mean, it's just I think it helps build like because you're under pressure situations, and it just helps me like grow in terms of like my composure on the mound and how I carry myself and being able to stay cool, calm, and collected in high intent situations. Because I know the guy across the dugout is doing the same exact thing. So yeah.
Before we go to the kind of the Range Riders, I just got to take one moment for the Pac-12, and it's such a fun conference, such a unique conference. You got to be in that last, like one of the last Pac-12 events ever, probably was your guys' baseball season and how you finished it. And so I just got to ask, like, what was your favorite road trip in the Pac-12? Because there's some good destinations there. Obviously SoCal, obviously Arizona State, especially coming out of the PNW. But at the same time, like I'm sure Corvallis is a great atmosphere because they got a great program. And obviously, Pullman is what Pullman is, but that Wazoo trip's a rivalry. So what was your favorite trip?
Gosh, I think my favorite trip was probably going down to ASU.
Yeah.
Because like my first year, like you're pitching in a old spring training complex, so it's like the field is like awesome, and just the atmosphere, like you pitch in front of like 8,000 fans on a Friday night. It was like, oh my, this is like what the big leagues feels like. So it was just, I think that was my favorite trip, plus like just the area around the ballpark and everything. The weather was just like money. It was awesome. But yeah, honestly I think a close second would honestly be Stanford.
Okay.
Just that ballpark too is fun to play at, and then the area too around it. It's just cool. Like, cause Stanford's downtown, in the city, like kind of like the I think like Old Town is what like they call it. I think in Arizona or something like that. But it's kind of like that. Like they got like strip malls and everything. Yep. It's just cool to go walk down there, and the environment down there is awesome too. But yeah, I think those are probably my top two, and then Pullman. Like you'll talk to Grant after that place is terrible, but yeah.
I went there for one Apple Cup and I was there, watched the game, and got out. So then obviously you pitched the full spring season, which like I don't think people realize like how just exhausting it is, even for a pitcher where you're only pitching once a week for a starting pitcher. Like you're exhausted, right? And so then season ends, a couple months go by, and then you land with the Range Riders. Talk to me about like how that process all kind of worked out, because I mean the fact is you're more local than a lot of other guys. You're a day's drive away where other guys are having to fly across the country. So kind of how did it work out where you landed with the Range Riders and kind of got on board right at the end of July there?
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I kind of knew I didn't have a great fifth year, I guess you could say, at UW, and my agent was telling me like, hey man, like it's probably not looking like the draft is in the cards for you, and indie ball is probably the place that you've got to go. And like I was like hearing that was like halfway through the season, so I was like, man, like this is tough. But I mean, I'm a man of faith, so leaning on the Lord and in that process was big for me, and trusting the plan that He had for me. And then honestly, like I reached out to, once the season ended, I reached out to a couple Pioneer League teams, but Glacier was the team that like reached out to me first, and I was like, wow, this is. And then they sent them some video, and I think I came down end of July and realized like this is the best spot that I could have ever landed at. Yeah. Because I mean, well, I probably shouldn't say this because we play them this year, but I was looking at like Missoula and Billings, and I was traveling to their ballparks. I was like, can't believe I wanted to go here.
Yeah.
But
well, I mean, for you, was it almost kind of like that same when you went the JuCo route, like, and you just said like I was expecting to set myself up, so I got offers, so I got drafted, so I got whatever, and then it's not happening. So now, we're just going to trust the process and go to Plan B. So how good was that for you to still like find a landing spot and one of the best, maybe like kind of how Tacoma was for you? Yeah.
I think you hit the nail on the head too. I think like me going to JuCo and like me coming here, kind of like not the same environment because it's still a pro ball, but like it's kind of like the step. JuCo is like the step down to D1, and like you're obviously everybody's trying to get into affiliated ball, but like in terms of like competitiveness and like the facilities we have here, it's honestly it feels like this is the better place than I think I've been to in all of my college career too. It's like the facilities are awesome, the front office is amazing, coaches are great, and they really want to they're bought into developing us and getting us out of here, which I think is awesome. So I mean, yeah, it's like, me coming here was a blessing, and honestly a blessing in disguise, because like obviously I was down about not getting signed, but it's at the end of the day, it's like this is the journey that I'm on, so I get to just enjoy every moment, and obviously this view, this area is amazing. So
I mean, you talk about like the development and the buy-in that we have to development. I mean, it's obviously worked really well for pitchers. I don't know how much you know the history, but like year one, Logan Van Wy got signed, D2 kid, and now he's AAA with the Astros. He was pitching against Juan Soto in spring training like last week. And then Jonathan Bintaro, you guys didn't overlap, but obviously a lot of people still knew him, and that connection's still there, getting signed by the Mets, and he finished in AAA. Connor Housley, who I don't think you overlapped with. But, we got most guys signed in the league last year, and that's a big part of the process. We want to win games,
absolutely,
but we also want to make sure that you guys are getting to the top of where you can get to. How important is it for you to be in an organization like that? Because I mean, different teams are kind of different priorities, and clearly that's one that we've made top of the list.
I think it's awesome because I mean, I want to go to an organization where like the coaching staff, or the front office, they're all bought into wanting to win, but also develop us to help us on our journey in our career. So I think, being able to be here and be under Todd and Glendon and just Marty and Chris, the front office, they're awesome guys, and they've vocalized it that they want to develop us and help us get to where we want to go. And I think it also just helps having the facilities that we have here. I mean, top-notch facilities, everywhere you look, and I think that plays a big part for sure. So
you've gotten to work like a little bit now with Todd and Glendon, like kind of firsthand. Obviously, two ex-MLB guys. Glendon's a guy that, I mean, he committed to UW before he ended up getting drafted. So he has that PNW connection, just like you. What are you trying to absorb from those guys? Because obviously they've been to the top of the ladder. How are you trying to just absorb what you can from them, and how excited are you to work with them this season?
Well, I told Glendon over text and over the phone, I was like, man, I'm going to be a sponge, and I'm going to be asking you a ton of questions because I want to learn. Like, I love to learn, especially around baseball, something I'm passionate about. Like, I want to be able to be the best I can be, and I know that they have the knowledge that I'm looking for, and so I'm just really trying to, like, honestly be in their ear and honestly probably annoy them most of the time, just asking them a ton of questions on how I can be better at this. Where can I start this pitch? What like grip should I use to get it to move the way that I wanted, and all that stuff. And I mean, Glendon, I've been here for 3-4 days, and Glendon's taught me a new changeup, and it's awesome. And then he's taught me with my slider, so it's more consistent. And so I mean, I've only been here less than a week, and I'm already I feel like I've gotten a lot better just being here and listening to them and just absorbing what they've got to say. Because I mean, I feel like I'm a very coachable dude, because I don't know a lot about pitching yet. So I mean, I'm just trying to learn from the guys that have been where I want to be. So
obviously, I mean, it was a couple of years ago that you mentioned like you thought you didn't think you were going to be a pitcher, right? And so you're still kind of new in this whole thing. Next thing you know, you're pitching pro ball in August with us. What was the biggest learning curve for you in terms of making the jump from D1 ball, where you're jumping on a plane, you're traveling constantly, maybe playing a little bit less than we do over the summer, but obviously this kind of motley crew of these guys that come together in the summer from D1s, JuCo routes, and D2s, NAIs, whatever. What was your biggest adjustment when you started pitching and started going?
I think for me it was just letting my stuff play and not trying to be too fine. Going from college metal to pro ball wood bat, it's like I can get away with being more over the plate. Because I mean, a jam shot in college is a single, and now a jam shot in pro ball is a broken bat. So I think I just learned to attack and not be so try not to be so fine and paint the corners, because I can get away with a fastball over the plate down, compared to that's going to be like a home run or a double. I mean, it still obviously could be, but I found that like my margin for error coming here last year was a little bit bigger than it was in college, and I felt like I had to be perfect in college. To where now it's like I'm still competing in the zone, but I feel like I'm able to get away with a little bit more just because of the switching of the bats and everything. But yeah.
Obviously, you joined us after we clinched the playoffs last year, so you have a little bit of like relief on your shoulders to say, okay, like we don't need to worry about winning every game. We can kind of work more on the process in the second half of the season. But just being able to jump on the ship as we know we're making a run to the playoffs, and then obviously winning some games, coming up short. How much excitement was that to be a part of the team and to just kind of like enjoy the crowd and the fans, especially, just coming in and being immersed in I think what, like you said, like what we both agree is one of the best atmospheres, one of the best facilities in this league for sure, and going on the run that we went on.
Yeah, that team last year was awesome. Like, just coming in halfway through the season, like all the guys were, very welcoming and they were, they weren't like standoffish to me. They welcomed me with open arms and actually helped me like the first week, in my catch play and trying to, figure out some different pitch grips and everything. But I think, coming in and we already clinched, it was like, all right, we can kind of like just cruise a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of got us, it got us in some trouble, I think, in the middle of the second half. But then, we were that good that we could just turn it on at the end. And everybody saw what we were capable of. Obviously, we came up short, but, to finish second last year and to think that we were not playing our best ball leading up to the playoffs and then just to flip on the switch like that.
Yeah.
And to finish how we did, I think just shows a lot to the talent that we had in the team and just the commitment that everybody had to one another and wanting to just go out there and do it for the guy next to him. So
as we look ahead to this season, obviously like a league like this is so interesting because there's your personal goals that you're trying to achieve and you're trying to excel, and obviously at the same time the organizational goal is that, but also to win games. So now coming into this at the start of a season with the fresh kind of slate, how hungry are you to accomplish both those goals? Your personal thing, put yourself on the radar and hopefully get signed, but at the same time, know that winning games helps everybody.
Yeah, I think it's got to be for me, it's got to be a balance because, obviously everybody wants to succeed themselves, but like if you're not winning, you're not succeeding. Yeah. So I think just coming in here with a team first attitude for me and just wanting to help the guy next to me and just kind of be like, just kind of help them along their journey as well. And like, just take the spotlight off of me. I think that's where I can honestly just play free. And like, that's when I think for me, the success will come is just wanting to just buy into the guy next to me and help them get to where they want to be. And I think that will, just iron sharpens iron, right? So like if we're working with each other, like we're both going to get better at the same time. So I think there's got to be a good balance of one wanting to, succeed on your own, but team first, I think has got to be the number one priority for sure. Because obviously winning, you spot the spotlights on everybody, and like that's going to elevate everybody's game as well. So
awesome. Thank you very much, Jared.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Scott. Appreciate it.